Alright, hey everybody there at YouTube, it is Brank, and I am bringing you a different type of video today. This is a video that's going to be on Tesla, and one of the features of Tesla, which is the Autopilot feature, and how to use it and how I've been using it in my Model S that I picked up a week ago today. And hopefully this video teaches people something that they might not already know about some of the Teslas, and especially the people who are going to be picking up their Model 3s. To kind of help them out before they pick up their Model 3s. If there's some questions that they had, hopefully this video covers some of that. So today we're just going to be going over the Autopilot. So the Autopilot feature, I am going to back out of my driveway here, and we're going to get on a little bit of a highway. Not really a highway, but something I can actually enable the Autopilot on. And this particular Model S, this is a brand new Model S, 2017, it's a 75 refresh, so it does have the Autopilot 2 hardware, so it might not totally apply to Autopilot 1 hardware in the older Teslas, but it definitely will apply to the Model 3 and the Model X. So I'm going to go drive down the street here, and I've got my dash cam running as well, so we'll get some footage from that. You'll be able to see, kind of what the road is going to look like. I'm actually focused on the dash here, the dashboard here, so that you guys can see when I'm using the Autopilot what that's going to look like, and kind of what the screen looks like. Because I know when I first picked this up, there is a little bit of a learning curve trying to figure out exactly how to turn on the Autopilot and exactly what it's going to do. Because that's probably the scariest part, is if you don't know what it's going to do, you're going to be really afraid to turn it on. So unfortunately I do not have a camera for my feet, but I will let you know what my feet are doing when I turn on the Autopilot. So right here is one of the streets of my community. Backup camera. A little bit too far forward here. Hopefully I'm on the sensor still. I am going to get on this street. And now remember, currently the version of Autopilot hardware, you're not going to be able to drive it on streets. So don't expect to be able to have it stop at stop signs or stop lights. Right now, the current hardware and software are only going to work on pretty much highways and freeways, which for me is actually perfect because most of my commute is on very long freeways. So it's actually it actually works out really well for me. So I'm going to just get out of this general area here. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn on the Autopilot here. Now I have stop signs and stop lights around here, so I'm going to have to use the brakes and take control if I need to. But as soon as we pass this next stop sign, I'm going to show you exactly how we enable the Autopilot. And we can also see it, basically making the turns for us, which is a really good thing. Actually, the next light, that was a school light. School is not in session. It's summer, so there's no kids, and I'm not worried about hitting kids. One of the things you want to try to keep in mind, all right, here we go. We're passing the light. I'm going to turn on Autopilot, and I'm doing that by this stalk down here. This is shorter stalk on the left-hand side, and I'm going to double tap it towards me. You'll hear a sound, and you'll see both of the lights, blue rings appear around the steering and the speed. Now the max speed right now, it's going to set my max speed to 45 miles per hour. Right now I have no foot on the gas or the brake. I have it over the gas and the brake just in case I need to take control back, and I'm not actually holding the steering wheel. What you want to do, or my suggestion, what you want to do when you are using Autopilot is actually have your hands on the wheel at all times, because if you need to take over and you need to put your hands on the wheel at the same time, it's going to be time that you might not have in an emergency situation. So we're coming up to a stop light here, so I'm going to slow down. I'm going to push on the brakes, which you see turns both of those blue rings off of the speed and this little steering wheel icon, which means I basically took control back from the vehicle. So you don't want to leave that enabled when you come to stoplights and stop signs. Really, like I said, the main purpose right now of the autopilot is pretty much for highways and freeways, something where you're not going to be encountering stop signs and stoplights for the most part. So here in California, we've got plenty of highways and freeways. Most of them have a ton of traffic on it. So maybe I'll try to do another video later of part of my commute in, which is horrendous with the traffic, and how autopilot seems to be faring in that traffic, which is phenomenal. So I'm going down this hill. I'm going to actually, these are fairly, not really tight corners, but it is curvy. So I'm going to turn on autopilot and see how it does. So you want to make sure you're not hitting the windshield wiper blades or the turn signal up here. It's the second stalk down, double tap. You'll hear that sound. It comes on. It'll tell you your max speed. It'll tell you whether the steering is engaged, and then you just pretty much hold on. Now I'm going to lose this lane here, so we'll see what autopilot's going to do. It's actually going to push me into the lane next to me, which there was a guy behind me, but he was back about 30-40 feet, so it had plenty of room to get over. Now if I hadn't had room to get over, it would have sensed that there was a car there and slowed me down, and then probably tried to get me in. So the other thing you want to keep in mind is there's two ways to disengage autopilot that I've found. One, like we showed you before, which is pushing the brake. Well, I told you I didn't show you because, like I said, I don't have a camera on my feet, but I push the brake to disengage. The other way to disengage autopilot is pushing on this stalk forward, and that will disengage autopilot. So let me do that here. Push it forward, and that disengages autopilot, which I also have to remember disengages the cruise control, or the adaptive cruise control, that was keeping my speed at 50 miles per hour. So as soon as I pushed that forward, it basically let my foot off of the gas pedal, or acceleration pedal in electronic vehicle terms, because there is no gas. So you want to make sure that you're ready to take control back when you turn autopilot off. Some of the really interesting things, like I said, that I've noticed with autopilot is it's always obviously a better idea, or a good idea, to still stay aware of your surroundings. Don't assume the autopilot sees everything. Don't assume that it's going to take care of you for every possible need and scenario, because that software is not totally there yet. I would say your best option, like I said, was keeping your hands on the wheel or near the wheel. And in fact, you have to keep them on the wheel at some point, because otherwise the car will turn autopilot off. And keep your foot near the acceleration or the brake, probably the brake, especially when you're in traffic. I know the first time I turned autopilot on, I was basically scared because you don't know if it's going to stop at that giant bundle of traffic in front of you. So your foot is, my foot was hovering right above that brake pedal to make sure that if something happened, I was ready to take over. So stay in control, stay aware of your surroundings, because that's usually the thing that's going to get you into trouble. It's going to be that guy or that girl that's zipping by everybody in traffic and really isn't caring what's everybody else is doing. So stay aware of your surroundings. Don't just hope for the best with autopilot. We're going to go ahead and turn it on again here, and you'll notice it automatically goes to the speed limit that it detects as its minimum speed, and it'll speed up and slow down. Now, the other things you can do with autopilot are, if you do want to speed up, you can actually go, this won't let me do it, but you can push up on the stalk, which would increase the speed of the max speed that it says there on the dashboard. So if I wanted to go 55, if it would let me, it won't let me because this isn't like a freeway or something. That would let me go faster. You could also push down on the stalk to lower the speed. So this stalk right here pretty much is your autopilot. The other things I can do are if I want to be a little bit more aggressive in how the autopilot and the adaptive cruise control is working, I can increase by turning the knob at the end of the stalk here to 2 car lengths, 1 car length, 3, 4, 5, and that's what's determining the speed of how close it's going to let me get to the person in front of me. So this guy was in a truck in front of me, so it's, if I set it, fairly high to 7, it's going to stay a pretty good distance behind him. So I generally am at 2 or 3, mostly because, like I said, a lot of my driving is in fairly heavy traffic, and if you set it for more than 3, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of people cutting you off because the car will leave, quite a bit of space in between you and the guy in front of you, which means that guy to the right of you is going to cut in when he sees, a ton of space there. So I would say, depending on the type of traffic that you're driving in, you want to go to 2 or 3. So I'm going to go ahead and turn cruise control off, push forward on the stalk, and take control because I'm going to make a right turn here. So yeah, keep in mind the distance or that you want to give it between those cars is really dependent on the type of traffic you're driving in. If you're driving in open highway traffic or interstate traffic, 4 car lengths, 5 car lengths is fine. Remember, what that's really going to give you is more time to react in an emergency situation. Obviously, the car has its own built-in features for safety and helping you, auto braking, stuff like that. And yes, we are in a Tesla, which is probably one of the most technologically advanced cars, but you need to still stay in control. We don't want to get ourselves into harm's way, and we don't want to put other people into harm's way. So try to make sure that you keep that in mind when you're driving, even if you're driving a highly advanced car. Safety should be an important factor in all of this, and keeping yourself aware of the things that are going on around you. So it's not perfect. The autopilot is not perfect. It's not going to do everything for you. So that's why I say always stay focused and in attention, so that if something does happen, you're ready to take over. So we're going back here. I'm going to end this video here. I don't want to make it too long, but that's pretty much the basics of the autopilot hardware and how, not the hardware, the software mostly, how autopilot works in the Tesla. Hopefully this helps out some of those Model 3 buyers when they get their vehicles, because I know I had some questions at first, and they answered some of them at the Tesla dealership, but there were some of them that I didn't understand or I didn't know after picking the vehicle up of how, exactly I was supposed to use the autopilot at this point. So if you guys have any other comments or questions about the Tesla, I'd be more than willing to help out and answer any questions or comments that you guys want to address. Leave them in the comments.